Good morning. This is Father Stephen Kelly from St. John's Church in Detroit. And we're continuing our series of daily morning meditations where we generally look at one or another of the lessons that are assigned for morning or evening prayer, what is known as the daily office lectionary. And so we're jumping back into St. Matthew's Gospel, which is one of the lessons that are assigned for evening prayer. And we are now in chapter 14, and we encounter the very famous story of Jesus walking on the water and Peter doing so as well. Now, it is quite interesting. We hear in the beginning of this particular portion that's assigned for today, beginning at verse 22 in chapter 14, we hear the story about Jesus being pressed by the crowd. He keeps trying to get away from the crowd because he needs time to pray and he needs time to recharge. And so the disciples decide to go off into the boat because Jesus has stolen away for a little time of prayer and R&R, and he decides to come walking to the disciples in the boat by walking on the water. And the apostles' initial reaction is that they're afraid. They think it's a spirit. After all, normally human beings don't walk on water. We know that's a fact. It's a little physics thing there, right? And so the reality is, it says in the scriptures that they start out by being afraid that it is in fact a spirit, that they've seen a ghost. And so when Peter is now double checking this, he actually says this. And straightway Jesus spake unto them, saying, Be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid. And Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it be thou, bid me to come unto thee on the water. Now, what a strange thing. If it's you and not a ghost, have me come and walk to you. It seems like a really strange request, but Peter does a lot of strange things, including 1 minute proclaiming him Lord and the Messiah, the Anointed One, and a few minutes later he's saying, we won't let you go to Jerusalem to die, and Jesus has to say, get thee behind me, Satan. So he's up and down, right? I'll never forsake you, Lord, and he says, you're going to deny me 3 times, right? So Peter gets caught up in this. And of course, here it comes. And so Jesus says, come. And when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on the water to go to Jesus. So he begins to take the steps, right? He's actually walking on the water. And then they realizes, what the heck am I doing? I mean, the wind's blowing, and immediately, but when he saw the wind was boisterous, he was afraid. And he began to sink, and he cried, saying, Lord, save me. Now, Lord, save me is always a good cry, right? Lord, save me. But here is Jesus is called Peter to him, and he's actually starting to walk on the water, and Peter suddenly loses his concentration, right? He gets distracted. He's thinking, I'm walking on the water, and I'm walking to Jesus. And then it's the wind and the waves that distract him. He takes his eyes off of the goal, off of the focus on Jesus. And at that moment, he suddenly becomes afraid. Fear enters the equation. And he cries out to Jesus, Lord, help me. And immediately Jesus stretched out his hand and caught him and said unto him, O thou of little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt? And then they came into the ship. So you think about, even in such a miraculous situation, here's St. Peter, who is literally walking on the water, walking to Jesus, who he's seen walking to him. He's breaking the laws of physics. Peter's now involved in something remarkable and miraculous. But he suddenly allows the human fear to enter into the factor. And because of that, he begins to doubt. Jesus calls him out on it afterwards. Oh, you of little faith. Jesus has to actually reach out to him. Now, the good news, of course, is that Peter's cry, Lord, save me, certainly does not go unanswered. We cry out to the Lord, and he always hears us. The answer may not always be what we expect. I don't know if Peter expected Jesus to reach out and literally grab him, but all he knows is that he called to Jesus, and Jesus called him, but saved him. But with that also comes the rebuke, right? How is it you could start to walk on the water and then suddenly be afraid, as if Jesus was going to prevent what was miraculous from continuing at that moment? But notice the reaction. In the end, what ends up happening is they realize the magnitude of what's going on in Jesus being able to break the laws of physics by being able to walk on the water, and by having Peter walk in the water as well. And so we hear this. And when they were in the ship, they came and worshipped him, saying, Of a truth, thou art the Son of God. So through this is where they recognize the big reality that in fact Jesus is the Son of God. Their reaction to all of what's happened, Jesus walking on the water, as well as the reality of him reaching out and having Peter walk and then saving Peter. All of that now has convinced them, without a doubt, this is the Son of God. Now, we know that they're going to get wonky again, right? We know that they're going to fail again. And that's probably true in most of our spiritual life. There'll be moments where we have this is unbelievably, completely, and utterly true. And then there's moments where we go, I'm just having a hard time doing this. But either way, folks, we always call out to Jesus. We always, even in our moments of faithfulness and our moments of doubt, we call out to Jesus, and he will stretch forth his hand, and he will save us. I hope that you have a wonderful Wednesday. God bless you.